And Hans von Spakovsky is a former member of the Federal Election Commission. He's been sounding the alarm on election system problems for years. I talked to him just now and asked him what stood out to him most recently.
Well, the latest lawsuit is making a number of claims that they say compromise the outcome of the election. I mean, one of the claims that needs to be explained by the state is that, look, absentee ballots are rejected at a higher rate than ballots cast in precincts. It's because, voters make mistakes. They forget to sign a ballot. They don't provide all the information. In the 2016 election, apparently the rejection rate for absentee ballots in the state was 2.9%. In this election, the rejection rate was only 0.34%. That is a significant reduction in the rejection rate, which is a little bit confusing because, remember, a much larger number of people voted by absentee ballot in this election than before, many for the first time. So you would actually expect the rejection rate to go up as voters make mistakes. Instead, it went way down. So really, what's the explanation for that? Were voters just simply better informed, or were election officials not actually doing what they're supposed to do, which is verifying that each absentee ballot complies with state law before they decide to count it? We haven't really had that explained.
And I believe we had the same problem in the same manifestation or same incidents in Pennsylvania as well. Do you know from the data, is it only in these battleground states, or is the rejection rate down in across the country?
Well, the data is still being collected, so I don't know if it's down in other states too, but it's particularly unusual when you realize or think back to the fact that, remember, in the primaries that we had this summer, where there was also a large increase in absentee balloting, we had very large rejection rates. Remember, New York held a primary where the rejection rate was 1 in 5 ballots because so many voters were making mistakes. So again, it just seems quite unusual for this to happen in this particular election where there was such a huge increase in absentee ballots.
Very unusual. And I want to ask you as well, Hans, we have the runoff elections coming up in Georgia in January. Lots of people saying that there are problems in the process. We need to get them fixed before we do these runoff elections. Is there time or...
Well, the Georgia legislature would have to act very quickly. The governor would have to call a special session right away, and then they would have to make immediate changes to the election laws because absentee ballots will be sent out pretty quickly. So if they're going to make a change in the rules governing absentee ballots, they have to do it almost immediately.
And looking at everything and watching everything, what's your feeling overall with this election?
I think this election has brought to the forefront, particularly for the public, the many problems and vulnerabilities that have existed in our election process for years. Problems that I've, for example, been writing about for a long time. But now the public sees those many problems. And it's everything from out-of-date voter registration rolls that haven't been kept accurate and up to date, to problems in the way absentee ballots are handled. I hope that one thing that comes out of this is that state legislatures all over the country finally pay attention to this and start trying to fix these problems in the election system.
And if we've seen them for so long, or if you've seen them for so long, why are we only seeing them now?
Well, because this was such a close election, and it's really when you have close elections that these problems really can be seen and manifest themselves. Look, if a candidate wins, 70% to 30%, folks aren't going to notice the problems at the margin. But if the margin of victory comes down to 0.5% or 0.1%, that's when these kind of problems can really make the difference and change the outcome of the election.
Hans, really appreciate the analysis as always. Thanks so much.